Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Previously on Nintendo Cartridge Society. Mark, how dare you show your face here after what you did to Le Mans twins?
Patrick, I came back for one reason. I'm having Le Mans, baby.
It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I am super excited for the finale of WandaVision tomorrow.
Yep.
We are letting this excitement seep into the show.
Yeah. This is the one time that we're letting our Marvel fandom creep into the show.
Normally, we're very restrained. People are like, Marvel,
Yes.
what? I've never heard about that on this show.
They never talk about it. They never say, I'm all in at this point. They never say, Disney can take my money. Mark, two things that we need to address. Obviously, as we record this, we are on the 4-year anniversary of the Switch being released. Have you done any, look back in the now high school length tenure of the Nintendo Switch? And have you felt anything about your time with it?
Wow, that's wild. I didn't even consider it like that. Our little baby's growing up.
Yeah, it's true. It started as a freshman, as all babies do. And now it has graduated. So
Wow.
that is the first milestone. Second milestone is, of course, this is the 100th episode that we have recorded remotely since the pandemic began. This is our 100th episode not being in the same space together.
Man, that is also wild. Yeah. And I feel like the one we recorded right before we had a guest. And so it was like a real, spectacular. And then, yeah, that's wild. That's really crazy.
We had done a little bit of like a run of spectaculars because Ryan Mogi was on for the Valentine's Day show. And then we had Colin on a couple weeks later. And then it was bam, lockdown. And then we've been there for 100 episodes.
Yeah, that's so weird. Well, here's to 100 more, right, Patrick?
Mark, how dare you? Someday we'll be in the same room. Until then, though, you can borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. If that's something you're interested in, all you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address, a place where we can mail my copy of this game for you to play. And look, I pay for postage both there and back. It costs you nothing. One minor hiccup is you may accidentally get Untitled Goose Game. You can't stop the goose. He's in there to spoil all of our plans.
The other thing you can do when you're sending us an email is you can enter our contest to win an eShop code for Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore on the Nintendo Switch. It's a code for the US Switch eShop. All you got to do to enter is write in to us
by emailing us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com.
And in the subject line, put Sharp FE. That's sharp, like the pound or hashtag sign FE. And in the body of the email, tell us who your Mirage would be. So a Mirage is like an avatar in battle or somebody who gives you strength. It can be a Nintendo character. It can be a non-Nintendo character. It can be anything you want. But get that to us by March 15th. We're going to take all the entries. We're going to be randomly selecting a winner. So we're loving everything you're writing, but that's not how we're judging who wins. We're not judging who wins at all. It's all up to the random number generator.
That is right. But look, that is not a reason to slack on writing the descriptions of who your Mirage is. Mark,
you have to.
Please give it some thought. Mark, have you considered who your Mirage would be?
Ooh.
Don't tell me if you have. If you have, don't tell me yet.
Okay. All right. I will save it for when we reveal the winner.
You were like getting ready to pounce. You were like, I'm going to come up with this answer.
Okay, well, tables turned, and same thing. I don't want to know, but have you considered who your Mirage would be?
No. I have
Okay.
not. Um, Mark, let's get into our main topic. Let's talk some MarioVision. Okay, so first I think off the bat is this is now us giving space to whatever we want to talk about as far as WandaVision is concerned. Obviously, we have seen up through episode 8 at this point, so if you do not want to be spoiled on WandaVision episodes 1 through 8, skip ahead a little bit. But Mark, I am shocked at how much I'm enjoying this experience. I really like that Marvel is taking the sort of basic Marvel movie formula and where there once was a fight scene or an action sequence of some kind, they're like, no, we're just going to insert a a classic sitcom homage, and like that is the new action sequence, and then using that to actually like tell a story about like grief and how you move on from like a big tragedy. I'm really loving this show.
Yeah, me too. I before it started airing, you and I were talking, and I think I mentioned like how much I wanted it to be weird. Like I
Yeah,
knew that eventually would have to get to like the more standard Marvel stuff. But I wanted it to like take its time to get there. And I feel like it has achieved for me like a good balance of that. And even
totally.
the like more Marvel-y stuff, like the stuff with Sword, I don't care that much about. But the way that like outside the bubble, like outside Westview has been handled, like this last episode where we just got kind of pieces of Wanda's life. I just thought that was like really remarkable, and it was just nice. Like these are like Scarlet Witch is not a character that I cared at all about in the movies.
Yeah.
And like she has a relationship with Vision, but it's one of those things where like they're not main characters, so no time is really spent on it. So to
Right. And it also feels a little bit like an obligatory relationship too, right? Like
yeah,
they have a
oh
relationship
totally.
in the comics, so they have it here.
Yeah, so to have it kind of like pay off in the TV show and actually like I don't know, I enjoy the episodes just because I like spending time with these characters, and I don't think I ever would have said that before this.
Absolutely. Well, and also like, romance is not like shipping the characters and like they're sort of being, the relationship between like Tony and Pepper is obviously one that like we sort of hold like in the abstract, but like in their movies they're not like good for each other or good with each other. And ditto like Cap and Peggy, right? Like we like seeing them together at the end of Endgame, but like the Marvel universe isn't really one to let us like be with the characters as they're in a relationship. And WandaVision is bucking that trend and being like, no, we're going to see several episodes of them being together, even if it's in this weird like Twilight Zoney, TV experiment.
Yeah. And it's just I also just think the like different genres that we've seen of TV show, like I think that was really fun. I think all of the music is so
Hmm.
good. Like I like all the theme songs. I like the score. Like I guess I'm like really impressed. Like before WandaVision kicked off, I was looking forward to it, but was I wasn't like, "Oh man, like I need more Marvel in my life." And now that like I am totally hooked again, where it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, geez, like I can't wait to see like more of Wanda in like Doctor Strange." Words that I never thought I would say, like being like looking forward to a new Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, I remember being a huge grump outside of the theater after we saw Doctor Strange and being like, I didn't like it very much. But now, yeah, I'm like super stoked for the next one.
Yeah. Darn you,
Um,
Marvel.
Darn you, Marvel. I also think it is. Nope. I started down that sentence and did not have an end to it. I thought for sure that I had something to say about it.
Well, and sometimes you just got to barrel towards the end and hope your brain catches up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Where you're like, come on, brain, you can do it. Oh, I do like how you were mentioning like that the sword stuff is either like sort of weak or like we're still kept a little bit too much in the dark. I think as to like what is actually going on with sword. Like there are too many machinations sort of behind the scenes there. But I like the cast that they have assembled. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like having Dr. Darcy Lewis. She's a doctor. I like seeing Jimmy Woo, and I like Monica Rambeau. Like, I think they're a cool team. I think the dude who plays Hayward, the sword director, is a little like stilted and strange. Like, I don't totally buy his performance. But like the rest of it all, like, is still weird enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Hayward is super bland. Where it's like,
Super bland.
are you? I just don't get it. Like, and I think you're right that part of the problem is like we're not supposed to understand what his motivations are, but it just makes it really difficult to care.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess there is something compelling about the big bad guy just being like an ineffective boss. Like, that's funny. I do like that.
But I don't think
um
it's like I feel like it's not played that way.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But I guess like what I has been interesting to me about this whole like Marvel TV series exercise, and I'm interested to see how it continues in like uh Falcon and the Winter
Falcon and the
Soldier.
Winter Soldier or Loki.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, being able to spend more time with these characters and like not in an ensemble setting, it has its like more satisfaction than I was counting on. And so that has raised my interest a little bit more in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which before just looks very standard like Marvel movie to me, which is not a bad thing. I enjoy those, but I'm glad the WandaVision came first because I think it
Yeah.
has enough unique elements that it makes me more interested to see what they're doing with like Falcon or with Winter Soldier. Like, do they also benefit from not being in the ensemble anymore?
I imagine that they will benefit in the way that you're describing, but I think one of the things that's just so special about WandaVision is that it has this like like literally episodic structure where like there isn't a way to do the WandaVision story as they're doing it in a movie format. Like, it just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I sort of expect that if you were to cut the episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier together, that it would make sense as a movie that's too long, a Justice League Snyder cut length movie, right? Um, but like, WandaVision, you need the first and second episodes to be separate episodes of TV because
Yeah,
they're
that's
episodes
true.
in her universe.
That's really, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Any other thoughts on WandaVision before we move on to our exercise here, Mark?
No, I think let's do it. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the premise that we have laid down for ourselves, and I don't know that this necessarily tracks or makes perfectly logical sense, but it's a fun idea, is that we are going to do some Mario slash Nintendo, and it's like Nintendo classic TV mashups, right? If you and I found ourselves in the Scarlet Witch's position of having infinite power, struck by grief, retreating into our memories, and we had to mash together the two things that bring us comfort, TV and video games, what worlds, what shows would our grief-addled brains generate using our magic powers, right? Is that the
Yes,
premise?
that is exactly the premise. So we are going to I think you and I both have pitches for sitcoms or TV shows from 6 different eras. We're going to do the 50s and 60s as kind of like one era together. The 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the aughts, and then like the 2010s.
Yeah, and for me, I tried always to like lead with the idea of do a sitcom, but there were a couple times where I was led astray, and I was like, sorry, this other thing that's not a sitcom takes definite priority here, as in my first example. But I will hold on that until we get into it. Were you sticking mostly to sitcoms, or how are you approaching it?
Well, unfortunately, when this idea got pitched, like I already had one stuck in my brain, and it was not a sitcom. So I knew from the outset that I was not
Right.
going to be able to hold faithful to sitcoms. But the majority of what I came up with are, in fact, comedies. Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Should we start in the 50s and 60s?
Yeah. Let's do it.
I will go first. Because this is something that, as I am imagining it, I cannot tell you whether I am more interested in this idea as a television show or as a video game. We are approaching the Twilight Zone. So, like, one-off sci-fi, like high concept stories. through the lens of Earthbound or the Mother series. So like still using that like weird kind of Americana, like what the Japanese think American life is like, sort of lens, and like sort of seen through. Earthbound is so weird to me, man, because the aesthetics are simultaneously the 1980s and the 1950s at the same time. Um, and like baseball is everything, and like people are doing karate and stuff. But like I was playing a little Earthbound earlier today to sort of like refresh myself on just like the flavor of that game. And like every town that you go to has like three or four different little like very strange things happening in that town. Um, I'm in a town right now where everyone is worshiping the color blue. And they're painting everything blue, and there's like a blue cult. So like that's a whole episode of Twilight Zone style. And you don't have to be in that for any longer than like half an hour. Tell one story in that style, and then like move over to a different part of the Earthbound universe. And again, this would be a kickin' video game.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be cool?
that would be really cool. Also, that's a great idea. This idea for like a Twilight Zone anthology series.
Mhm.
Even you could, like you were saying, like directly take these stories or worlds from Earthbound or other RPGs and just like use that to tell, yeah, like this like 30-minute to 1 hour story.
Yeah, and look, then we wouldn't have to get stressed out about starting another 60-hour RPG that you know you're not going to finish.
All right. So my 50s/60s pitch is I want to do a Monkeys style sitcom, but it is starring the Toad Brigade from Captain Toad Treasure Tracker fame.
Amazing. Yes.
And so yes, they all live in a house.
Of
They
course.
all love surfing, and they are all in a band. So these guys are playing
well,
music
hold on.
together. Yeah.
Is Captain Toad also cowardly when it comes to like? Does he have crippling stage fright?
Yes, I think he probably does, right? That's part of his like
Mhm.
character. That's what makes him relatable and lovable.
Yes.
I feel like probably like Hint Toad is like Hint Toad is obviously the nerdy one. He's the blue one that has glasses.
Right.
Um Toadette, I feel like probably not part of the band, but is maybe like their manager. Like she's the brains. Toadette is for
Yeah.
sure the brains of the operation. The other ones like Bank Toad and Mail Toad, they're like around, right? Like they maybe don't have the most distinct personalities, but you need that whole like group dynamic. The one thing that I hope from this is that like this group of this group that is put together for the
Yeah.
purposes of this sitcom will eventually break through their corporate masters and be like, no, we are real artists. And then they're going to just make like a weird, like full length feature movie. Basically, I want the Toad Brigade to follow the path of the Monkeys very closely.
So do you have like a sort of like one for one, like, so yeah, obviously like the four Toads are like are in the band, but like is one of them Michael Nesmith, is one of them Davy Jones? Like who do you have like a one for one here or not?
So I think Captain Toad is probably the Davy Jones character, only because I
Yeah.
imagine that Captain Toad is like heartthrob, right? Like
Right.
teen girls love Captain Toad. And why would you not? Like I get it.
I like that they I'm looking at a picture of the monkeys right now as they are featured on Wikipedia just to refresh myself, because I could really only think of Davy Jones and Michael Nesmith, and I couldn't remember the names of the other two. Mickey Dolenz I should have been able to get. But Peter Tork, I would have missed that one altogether. But their hair looks like toad hats, right?
Oh yeah, it does kind of. Yeah, it does. I mean, I didn't think about that, but the synergy was there all along.
This is good, Mark. I like this idea for a show a lot.
I'm also imagining that they're just going to be speaking in their normal Toad voices, and of course, singing in their normal Toad voices. But in the world we live in, people love it.
Right.
Like, right? Like we crave the sweet, sweet sounds of Toads harmonizing.
So they're obviously in the Mushroom Kingdom, or are they like touring in the real world? Are they
I
a
think
sensation because they're in the real world?
No, I think it's like an Alvin and the Chipmunk situation where like nobody
Mm,
pays it any mind. Like nobody's like, "Oh, weird, there's a bunch of toads that are like singing." It's just
yeah,
like, "Oh no, we love these toads."
it is wild that no one in the Alvin and the Chipmunks universe pauses even for a second to consider the 3 foot tall chipmunks singing in screeching high voices on this record. All right, Mark, that is very good. Would you like to pitch your 70s then? We can like
Yes.
swap like that.
So, longtime listeners of this show know that I love lady detective shows, and Murder She Wrote is one that I like a lot. And recently, I have started getting into Columbo. And so, what I am envisioning is a Columbo style detective show. And for those of you who are like me, who didn't really understand the premise of Columbo, but basically, Columbo is from the beginning who the killer is in any
Who
given
the killer
episode.
is, how they did it, how
Yeah.
they're going to try to get away with it. You know everything because you see it happen at the
Yeah.
beginning of the episode.
And then Columbo like comes in maybe like a third of the way through or whatever, and the rest of the
It's
episode
wild.
is just like the circle like getting closer and closer as Columbo eventually figures it out. And it doesn't seem like it should work, but it does. It's really entertaining.
Yeah,
Um
well, and like sort of to that point, like Columbo, first of all, the second he appears on the scene, he knows what happens, what happened, right? Like he has everything figured out, and it's all about spending enough time with the person that he thinks did it to basically make them confess or make them talk themselves into a corner. It's an amazing show.
Yeah, well, and not to get too sidetracked, but one of the things that's cool about it is with like a who done it, like Murder She Wrote, the whole thing is predicated on the mystery, and a lot of times
Yeah.
there's no way that you actually could have figured it out. Like the solutions sometimes come out of nowhere, and you're like, well, it doesn't really make sense, but that wasn't the pleasure of the show. But so it's interesting to see it from the other side because you kind of like not necessarily like empathize with the killer, but you get to
You
know
sort of
them
do.
so much
Yeah.
more as characters, which is really fun. So anyways, I want to pitch a Columbo style show starring who else but Rusty from Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. I
Okay, now
think
Mark, I love this. I just want to flag it for right now. This is not the last time we're going to talk about Rusty from Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
I mean, I think that makes sense for a game that I think neither of us played. We talk about Rusty from Rusty's Real Deal Baseball a lot.
He's perfect.
But yeah, when I was thinking of like what like world weary kind of
Yes.
disheveled like character would I want to play a Columbo-esque detective in a Nintendo show, it would 100% be Rusty, the retired baseball player. I was going to say star, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, and this is something that's important to know about Columbo too, is that while he is incredibly affable, like everything else about him is a mess. He every crime scene that he shows up on, the other cops are like, "I'm sorry, sir, you can't come in here." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a cop." His car is like busted down. He can never button his coat right. He doesn't have a pen ever. He is like your classic slob, but is so charming that like the hoity-toity like rich LA people that he's investigating never suspect him of being like smart enough to corner them in a lie.
And this is exactly Rusty. I feel like to a T. I'm kind of angry that the show will never exist because it's too perfect. Because I also feel like every episode is clearly like a new mystery with like a rotating cast of Nintendo characters. So you're always going to see your favorites, and every week it'll be a new bunch
Yeah,
of them.
a new corner of the Nintendo universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another absolutely astounding thing about Columbo is that the only recurring cast member is Peter Falk. He doesn't have like a boss that we go see all the time. He doesn't have like a secretary. He talks about his wife, but we never meet her.
Mm-hmm.
He has a dog that he names Dog. Columbo's the best. He's so good. I love him so much.
Well, and the fun thing about like this would be we'd be able to visit corners of the Nintendo universe that we normally don't spend a lot of time in. Because sure, like you want to have a murder mystery set at Nestor's Funky Bowling Palace, Yes,
We
absolutely.
absolutely can get there. We want an Olympus murder mystery with like Pitt and Palutena. Like we can do that. We can get some Kid Icarus going.
Yes. So that's my pitch for a 70s show.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that in this this Rusty show,
Yeah,
which I guess
Rusty's
would just
Real
be
Deal
called
Murder.
Rusty. Right. Well, that's the thing I want to confirm is that the crimes he's solving are murders.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So for my 70s show, I went back to sitcoms. And one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Young woman working at a TV station, just trying to have it all, just trying to find her way in the world while being this irrepressibly cheery human being. So this is a Mary Tyler Moore show set in the Mushroom Kingdom. And I'm basically just casting the Mary Tyler Moore show with Mario characters. So here we go. Mary Tyler Moore, Mary herself, Mary Richards, will be played by Pauline, the mayor of New Donk City, of course, and the original damsel in distress from Donkey Kong. And her neighbor / friend, Rhoda, will be played by Daisy, and her landlady, Phyllis, will be played by Rosalina. Okay, so like there's your core is Paulina, Daisy, Rosalina. Already great. Sounds like a great show, right? The rest of the newsroom is made up as follows. Mario is playing the Ted Baxter role, so he's the doofy news anchor. Luigi is Murray, her like friend who is also a writer. Princess Peach is playing Betty White's character, Sue Ann, who has like a cooking show at the TV station. And of course, her boss, Lou Grant. Who do you think plays Pauline's boss?
Donkey Kong?
It's Donkey Kong is going to play Lou Grant. And then so one of the great things about Mary Tyler Moore is that it spawned like a ton of spin-off shows, right? Like there was a Ted Baxter show, there was a Phyllis show, a Rhoda show, and a Lou Grant show. And in the Lou Grant show, he moves to LA and solves murders. But you can just imagine, like, Daisy can hold her own show, Rosalina can hold
Totally.
her own show, and Donkey Kong can absolutely hold his own show. Donkey Kong solving murders, like, I'm there for it. But yeah, I just like the idea of a Pauline working at a Mushroom Kingdom news station and like producing segments and like getting flustered and stuff.
Yeah, because I also think you could have a lot of fun with like what the news segments in the Mushroom Kingdom would be about.
Also, you have to imagine that in the opening sequence when Mary throws her hat up, that Pauline would do that with the hat that you collect in Donkey Kong, right? So that is my 70s show. My 80s show, this is where I'm going to pull in Rusty from Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, a game that neither of us have played but can't stop talking about, for a take on Cheers. Now, one of the things that I like about Cheers is that it is the sort of quintessential found family. There's no reason that like all of these characters should be together other than the fact that they all drink or work at the same bar. And so I kind of want to take this Cheers concept and turn it into a collection of like Nintendo character rejects, right? Like the characters that don't make the roster for Smash wind up at Cheers. And obviously it is owned by Rusty, who is in the Sam Malone part.
Of course.
Former ball player, right? So that's perfect. And then
he'll give you a real good deal on a drink if you ask him.
He'll give you, but you have to ask him. So then I was like, okay, the rest of the cast has to be filled out by like D-list Nintendo characters, right? So I got most of them, but like I don't have a Woody. And I don't have like a coach, if we want to use like our early season characters. But so I think the Diane character has to be played by Mary O, who is the like help character from Super Mario Maker.
Oh, nice.
She's very proper, she's very helpful. You don't spend enough time with her to know that she's probably secretly really judgmental of the questions.
This is the Shelley Long character, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we will have to endure a romance between Rusty and Mary O. I apologize. But Cliff, the mailman, can be the running man from the Legend of Zelda series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Norm is going to be Stanley the Bugman from Donkey Kong 3. Carla is, of course, going to be the Nintendo Badge Arcade Bunny. And Frasier is going to be Dr. Shrunk from Animal Crossing. Are you familiar with Dr. Shrunk?
No.
He's an axolotl, which is that like weird salamander thing with like little like face phalange.
I'm looking him up right now.
He's very weird looking.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, you
All right.
recognize him now.
Got it. Yep.
But that's our Frasier. But yeah, so I don't have a Woody, and I don't know if you have like a quick easy
Ooh.
pitch for who could be the Woody there.
Not off the top of my head.
And I think that's okay. I mean, we maybe don't even need a Woody. This is a pretty crazy cast. And you know, one of the things I like about Cheers is that it is so frequently a like self-contained little drama, right? Like everything happens basically in that bar, especially for the first couple seasons. Like afterwards, they start venturing out into apartments and whatever. But they spend so much time just in that one bar, and like bouncing these insane personalities off of each other. I want to see how Rusty and Mario like try to get past their differences and like work in a bar together.
Yeah, and you know, you really, as an audience member, really are rooting for him.
I mean, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest sell of this is. And look, there's almost no way. People have been trying to recreate the chemistry between those actors, between Ted Danson and Shelley Long, since 1982 when the show premiered, right? So like, look, if we get anywhere near that with Rusty and Mary, I'll be happy.
I love it. So my pitch for the 80s is a Golden Girls style sitcom starring the Grand Dames of Nintendo. But here's the problem. Yes, Patrick's making an inquisitive face, and I agree.
Yes.
Like
Who?
yeah, not a ton of old lady characters in Nintendo. So here is what I have come up with, but I am open to better ideas.
I love it.
So Wrinkly Kong as like the Rose character, kind of like the airhead. Impa from Breath of the Wild, so old Impa as Dorothy, the sarcastic one. Okay, here's where maybe harder sell. Birdo as Blanche. Okay.
Yeah.
The
Birdo is
sexually
Blanche. I like
aggressive one, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Gruntilda from Banjo-Kazooie is Sophia.
Okay, what about? Hold on, I've got an alt pitch for Sophia.
Okay,
there.
great.
What about the grandma from Wind Waker?
The grandma from Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that a lot. Yeah. Okay. And then for Stanley, who's Dorothy's ex-husband, I'm pitching the Great Deku Tree from Ocarina of Time, primarily because he has a mustache, like Stanley has a mustache.
Yeah,
but I believe in the Deku Tree's ability to have chemistry with Impa. So that's my pitch.
The Deku Tree is like Scarlett Johansson. He can play anything.
And I honestly wouldn't change much else about it. It would still be, they're all living in Miami, you know, just having a good time. But I would love to just see Wrinkly Kong, Impa, Birdo, Gruntilda, or the grandma from Wind Waker and the Deku Tree just kind of hanging out, having hijinks.
Yeah, I really like the idea of like an old horny Birdo. For whatever reason, that's really funny to me. I like it a lot.
So like, and Birdo, I felt like I could get away with because we don't know what Birdo's deal is. Like, how old is Birdo? Birdo could be very old. Whereas I feel like Yoshi gives off a more juvenile behavior. I do not get that vibe from Birdo.
No, Birdo has like realized herself, right? Like there's some like work being done on the person that is Birdo.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so
that's great. I love it. I didn't weigh in. I love it. I think that's very good.
Okay, so my pitch for a 90s show So what I have in mind is like a Stargate or Babylon 5 kind of um
Ooh.
like sci-fi show that you would see on as reruns on the Sci-Fi Channel. And so here is like the cast and some of the archetypes that I think that they could fill.
Okay.
Some of it is, like it's borrowed a little bit from Star Trek. It's borrowed a little bit from like Stargate, from Babylon 5.
So yeah, but you're saying like the like TNG slash Deep Space Nine era of Star Trek,
Y- Um,
even a little Voyager.
yeah, like it's a little bit, because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like a Star Trek expert by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, and neither am I.
And so this is purely just like, when I think of Star Trek, I think of these tropes.
So Star Trek makes me think of
Exactly. Yes. So I think we want to see Professor Egad
yeah.
as a chief engineer. We want to see Rosalina as the captain. I think Rosalina would be an amazing captain on one of these shows.
She's a total Janeway for sure.
Now, going back to the original Star Trek, because I think of the We Fit instructor as like a Spock-like logical character. I think the species that is We Fit instructors, I think they're very calm. I think they're very centered. I think they're very logical.
Mhm. She's basically Data. I mean, just looking at her, like
Yeah, that's
she's
true.
basically Data. Yeah.
That's true. I think Isabel would be there, kind of as like the helmsman, and I think Urbosa is the heavy. So Urbosa from Breath of the Wild is like
Right. She's our
combat
Worf.
ready.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. I was not expecting a sci-fi mashup. That that's rad. Does this have a place, or is there a place for? And maybe these are like crossover over episodes, or like the different worlds that they visit, where we'll meet like Samus Aran and like Metroids, or like the
Yeah,
Star
totally.
Fox
And
guys.
yes, yeah. I think, and for sure, we want to go to wherever like F-Zero takes place. Like, and they're like tisking about how fast
It's Earth.
everybody's going.
It's Earth. It's they do it on Earth. It is a cold, bleak future in F-Zero. Well, that sounds like a fun show. I'd watch that.
Yeah, and when it's sweeps week, that's when all the crossovers happen. When they got to juice the ratings a little bit.
I love it. My 90s show, and look, I was thinking about this 90s show, and this is the one of my 6 ideas that I think is genuinely a good idea, and I think it is a crime that no one is making this happen right now. Mark, this is a revival of Beavis and Butthead, but Beavis and Butthead are Wario and Waluigi. And so they go on their like little adventures, but that only takes up like 10 minutes or so of the show. The rest of the time they're sitting at home on their couch watching video game trailers and making fun of them. Just like Beavis and Butthead used to watch music videos and make fun of them, it's the exact same formula, but with Wario and Waluigi.
That is such a good idea. Oh,
and they can be gross. They live in a house together, and you're like, how are these two people living together? How old are they? Do they have jobs? It is perfect, and I don't know why it doesn't exist.
That's too good. I'm glad that you are at least putting it out into the universe in some form,
Right.
because that is an idea it needs wings to soar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And so we're just wishing it some wings. I want a Beavis and Butthead, Wario and Waluigi. That's my 90s show. My 2000 show. This is one where I could not stay in the sitcom format, even in the comedy format. I gots to do me a Lost style show.
Ooh, love it.
And so here's I want the first couple episodes, minus the smoke monster, to be almost exactly the way Lost is. The same characters crash landing on an island, but over time and patiently, because Lost was patient in doling out its mysteries, there are no others. There's no Dharma initiative. What there is on this island is another person who's been shipwrecked there, who is, of course, a baseball playing kid from Seattle. Mike Jones is Mike from Star Tropics is exploring the islands here, and all the weird stuff that's going on as a result of Zoda and the two different warring alien factions. And we just teased those mysteries out over the course of 6 years with an international cast having amazing flashbacks to their lives off island. And then like Mike is in there, and Mike is like our Desmond-esque guide character, being like, I've been here for years and I've been fighting these octopuses with a yo-yo forever.
This is, of course, amazing. I want to make sure that I'm doing justice to this, so I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're saying. So, like Matthew Fox, Evangeline Lilly, like they are still playing the characters that they play. Like none of that changes.
Jack, Kate, Sawyer, Locke, Boone, they're all Saeed, Charlie, Hurley, everyone's there. Sun, Jin, everyone.
Everyone's there. Is it like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit type situation where like Mike Jones comes strolling out of the bushes and he's like
No, I don't think so. I think like you cast an actor to play that kid that's been playing Archie on Riverdale. He can be our Mike Jones. Just like a ripped redhead coming in. We were like, I guess you can still play high school. So I don't envision it being like you cast the Star Tropics parts
yes, I see.
To be realistic.
I think this is a great idea, and I think like inevitably it would lead to a like ending for Lost that everybody is satisfied with.
I mean, it's gotta. People love Star Tropics, so why would they not love the ending of a Lost and Star Tropics mashup?
That's very good. So my pitch for a early 2000s show is a Modern Family-esque like sitcom, but it is starring our Mushroom Kingdom fam in various like configurations. So you have Bowser, the single gay dad who's raising Bowser Jr. You have Mario, who's like a blue collar plumber who's married to an actual princess, but they're trying to make it work. Like if you think about this, you're like, oh my goodness, like this would be tough. Like these people have a lot that they have to work through, even if they love each other. Not to mention Mario's ex-wife Pauline just like hanging around in the neighborhood. Yoshi and Birdo are new foster parents who just welcome baby Mario to their home, and if they stop touching him for 10 seconds he dies. Like that's a lot of responsibility. And I think like it gives us a real taste of like what real Mushroom Kingdom families are like.
I love this because look, one of the things that we never truly understand, and you and I have dug into the Mushroom Kingdom a lot, probably more than most people, right? Trying to actually understand what's happening there. And for all the things that we do understand, the one thing that we will never really wrap our heads around is what the day-to-day life of a family in the Mushroom Kingdom is like.
Right.
But this can solve that. To show real stories that people experience.
Exactly. Mario, a blue collar plumber, trying to make it work with royalty. Like that's tough. These are stories that everybody can relate to.
Oh, and then like his brother comes to visit, and it's like the blue collar guys start to like outnumber the royalty, and it's like, oh no, the balance has shifted.
I mean, I feel like that's happening to me every week. This is the kind of reality that I like crave in television.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you at all concerned that both Mario and Baby Mario are characters on this show?
No, because Nintendo's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And it means that we are then giving up our use of the Mario, Baby Mario for some sort of like Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon situation, right?
That's a really good point, because I'm going to roll right into my shows for the 2010s, and it is a Big Bang Theory style sitcom. And so I wish that I would have thought of this, but I did not. So, but I am bringing back Professor Egad, except it's a young hot. It's a young hot Professor Egad. So
it's young Egad, but in the time of Big Bang Theory.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm doing, I'm proposing a scenario where Egad, probably in a time machine of his own making, like goes back in time, is now young and hot, and gets cast on Big Bang Theory, Big Bang Theory-esque show.
Right. So is he playing like the Sheldon part, or is someone else playing the Sheldon part?
Well, here's the thing: Mike Jones from Star Tropics is my Sheldon.
Whoa! I was gonna say, do we dare even take that part away from Jim Parsons? Like,
Wait, I actually
like
that's
how
a great
dare
idea.
we?
No, that is such a good point. That's such a good point. So all of the other roles will be played by Nintendo characters except for Sheldon, who remains Jim
Remains Jim
Parsons.
Parsons.
Yeah, that really only makes the most sense. Some other characters I thought that could be in here, like Mike Jones from Star Tropics. Bowser Jr. I think would make a good fit for this like mix. The other one is Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog, who when I was looking up like inventors or scientific Nintendo characters,
Sure,
he's one of the
yeah.
very few that goes to the top of the Google search results. And then
I like that.
and then like the for the female counterparts, you of course have Samus Aran, Princess Daisy, and Min Min from ARMS.
Why Min Min?
Because I thought it would be fun to include her.
That's good. Some arms representation is always good. Which I guess leads us now to my 2010s show and our final sitcom that we are going to be pitching here. Mark, we're looking out over the sort of vast Nintendo catalog here, and there is one property that we have not represented at all, and that is, of course, Splatoon. So, like, what kind of show is about young people trying to make their way in an urban area? I am, of course, pitching a girls, but the girls are Inklings from Splatoon. And just do like the exact same show, right? Where they're all like young and insecure and having too much sex and taking baths in front of each other, and but they're just squid kids.
I mean, I am perfection. I don't really have anything to add.
And it's my only like one line pitch where it's just girls, but the girls are Inklings,
And I think this is another one where like Adam Driver's still in it.
Absolutely. And everything else is computer generated except for Adam Driver, who's still there, and they still call him Adam. Like that is still his character's name too. You just can't, there are some things you can't mess with. Adam Driver and Jim Parsons. Those are the only things you can't
Canonical.
Mess with. All right. Well, so these are the TV shows that we came up with to mash up with video game characters, Nintendo characters specifically. But if you have any that spring to your mind or any that live as the kids say, rent-free in your head, please let us know. Email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we can talk about them later. All right, Mark, let's close this out. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. We appreciate it when you do. It helps people find the show. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. And the show is at Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
Ever wanted to hear from the neighbor at 9 Cloverfield Lane? Or what if I told you that Dr. Loomis's worst patient wasn't Michael Myers? I'm Adam Peacock, host of the podcast My Neighbors Are Dead. Join me each week as I talk to the lesser-known characters from your favorite horror films. Each week is an all-new, fully improvised journey into the unknown featuring friends and luminaries from the worlds of comedy, horror, and beyond.
New episodes every Tuesday on Campfire Media. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Campfire.